It's over. The New York Islanders have been mathematically eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs, and fans are calling for change after what's been a really rough season for the New York Islanders. We're going to break down what those changes can be on this episode of Islanders Digest, but before we do that, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Be one of our first 100 subscribers. If you're an Islander fan and you want more Islanders content, this is the channel for you. Yes, the season is over. The Islanders will not be making the playoffs, but just because the season is over does not mean we will stop making Islanders content. We have plenty to talk about, especially after what's been such a crazy season, and changes definitely are coming this offseason. There have to be changes after what has been really a mess of a season for the Islanders. It really ended in a fitting way today, losing 4-3 in a shootout to the Flyers, a game where once again, we showed we cannot score a goal in the shootout, going 5 rounds. Patrick Waugh putting in Tony DeAngelo at the end there. Don't really understand why we're putting a defenseman in there. Yes, he has skill, but there has to be a better person to shoot for. Or maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem. There isn't someone better to shoot for the Islanders because this is a team that is really lacking talent. Honestly, talking about the changes later in the video that need to be made, that's one of them. The Islanders are lacking talent, and they've been lacking talent for a long time, and that is one of the key reasons why they were eliminated today, cannot make the playoffs. And I will say, it was a good effort from the Islanders. You could tell they really cared. I mean, it was not the best effort. I think Patrick Waugh has been way too optimistic when talking about his team's efforts, but the effort has never been the problem for the Islanders this season. Even in that game last night against the Rangers, the issue wasn't the effort. I truly think it's a talent. And it's a talent that this team has had for the last few years. Stefan Rosner tweeted out, and this is a really good point. In the past 4 seasons, in the 2021-2022 seasons, the Islanders have been eliminated in game number 75. In 2022-2023 season, they've clinched the playoffs in game number 82, the last game of the season. The next year, 2023-2024, they did the same, clinching the playoffs in the second to last game of the season. And then this year, 2024-2025, they were eliminated in game number 79. This is a team that fights to the very end every single season, but a team that constantly finds themselves in the middle of everything, really in the middle of the league. When they make the playoffs, they're team number 16. And when they miss the playoffs, they're in the range of being team number 12 to team number 16. They're just right in the middle. They truly are the definition of a mid team. And many fans are calling out, this should not be good enough. This should not be the standard, because it's not like the Islanders are a team in the middle of the pack and they have this huge prospect that's coming along the way. Yes, with Callum Ritchie and Cole Eiserman, as we'll talk about in future videos, again, they do have a lot of help coming down the road. But this is not a team that's just been in the middle but also really building their future. This is a team that has been in the middle and just slowly dying after 2 conference finals runs. And while I'm very thankful for the 2 conference finals runs we got, some of the best Islanders hockey I have ever been able to watch and enjoy, I think it's really time that ownership has to call for accountability within the people who are in charge of the Islanders. I mean, if you look at these past 4 seasons, it has not been good enough. And Lou Lamoriello ran back the same roster again, and again. Sure, he did promise change in the trade deadline, but at this point, I think even when he's talking about change and retooling, I think it's too late. And for Islander fans, I think they're calling it out that it's too late, and they don't trust Lou Lamoriello to make that change. So Lou Lamoriello, Patrick Waugh, Thompson, and Lou Lamoriello's son, Chris Lamoriello, in the AHL, running the Islanders AHL team, which has had the worst season ever for an AHL team, at least on home ice, winning only 4 games to this point, 15 games in total. It's been absolutely horrendous. At what point does ownership say enough? Now, when we were talking about this during the trade deadline, I was convinced that Lou Lamoriello was going to keep his job. But you know what? Maybe that's not the case. Maybe something does change, because not for nothing, if you're like watching the Islander games, the seats in the past few games have been absolutely empty. Fans have given up. I know personally, I felt less desire than I ever have before to go to an Islander game. And part of that is, Mathew Barzal being injured, and that definitely is a part of why this team did not make the playoffs. But it's also in big part, there's no new talent. It's just the same old team over and over and over again. And while I do appreciate the effort from the veterans, they're only getting older. Players like Anders Lee and Kyle Palmieri are only getting older. You can't expect them to have another good season without change. So there definitely has to be change to this lineup. And I think ownership might consider making a change in the front office. We don't have any reports. The Islanders do keep things really tight. They don't really leak that much information. But maybe there's a better chance that Lou Lamoriello does get fired than we're thinking right now, because ownership cannot be happy with fans not coming back. Not only have there not been as many fans in the seats this season, we were talking about when it came to the All-Star game thing, where the Islanders are likely losing the All-Star game next season because the NHL likely won't have an All-Star game next season, that the Islanders were really using the All-Star game to try to get more season ticket sales. And what other reason would you be doing that for than people not signing up for season tickets? Because why would you sign up for season tickets to see the same product again? I love Anders Lee. He's been one of my favorite Islanders. It hurts me to think about him playing on another team. But at the same time, he's going to be 35 next season. Can we really expect another 30-goal season? I mean, you look at the entire Islanders lineup. There are, other than Holmstrom, and Siplikov, there really are no real young players to get excited about. Yes, the fourth line does feature Mark Gatcomb, who is a younger player, although I will also note he's 25, turning 26, so he's not this super young player who's going to develop into something big. This is an Islanders team that lacks a lot of young talent. And if you really compare them, even to like the worst teams in the league this season, you would see that even some of these worst teams do have more talent than the Islanders. I mean, look at the Sharks with Celebrini, or the Chicago Blackhawks with Bedard. Even you go to Nashville, they have Forsberg, and he's not younger, but you do have other big names that have talent. And yes, Matt Barzal does have a lot of talent, and missing Matt Barzal this season did hurt the Islanders. But I still don't think the Islanders are a very talented team, even with Barzal, especially next season when we're talking about some of the changes that are likely going to be made on the roster. If a player like Pajot is no longer on the team, Barzal is likely your second line center. Now that he's no longer going to be playing with Bo Horvat, he really has no shooter to play with. This is a team that has so many holes in the lineup, and a big part of this is just the Islanders really gave up so much for those Stanley Cup runs. And on one hand, you do got to appreciate those runs because they were a real special time. But it just seems like Lou Lamoriello has been unable to move on with that team. And as a result, I think there needs to be change. Do I think Patrick Waugh has been a terrible coach this season? No. I think he's actually done a really good job getting the best out of his players. And part of him likely, if not returning, would likely be just not wanting to have a new GM, not wanting to keep the coach that Lou Lamoriello brought in. That being said, in recent weeks, he's been getting very frustrated with the media, getting really snippy. And just some of the things he's said, I mean, the whole issue with Duclair, it's just stuff that could have been avoided. And while I don't like the way Duclair reacted, I also don't think it was a smart thing for Patrick. I mean, just talking about today's game, I mean, the season's over. The media asked some questions, and he instantly shut it down, saying he wants to talk about this game. This game's all that matters. But yeah, the reason this game mattered was because it was to keep the Islanders alive, and they did not win, so they are eliminated. It's worth talking about, and it's just something where, I don't know, everything with this whole group controlling the Islanders and the AHL organization, something's off, and I think there's something needs to be changed. And yes, that change does need to come on the roster, but I do think it's time to make management changes. We'll see what happens, but again, I did not have hopes at the trade deadline that there'd be any change, but now, and I don't even know if I wanted change at the trade deadline, but the way things have just gone, I think it's time, and I think ownership is definitely paying attention, especially if those tickets are not being sold. One final note we do have to talk about, as even though the Islanders are eliminated from playoffs, their last 3 games do matter, and that is the tank, the lowest possible pick the Islanders can get. The Islanders currently have the 10th pick, and with 3 more losses this season, they really have a shot to move up. I don't think they'd be able to move up to 7. I think that would take a perfect scenario. But Six, sorry, not six. That would be even better. That would take an even more perfect scenario. I think it is technically mathematically possible, although some of these teams might be playing each other, so I'm not sure. But realistically, the Islanders can move up as far as 8 and get the 8th best odds of drafting first overall. And also, if not having the 8th best pick, if the Islanders do win their last few games, they can slip as far as 13, although I don't expect that to happen. That would also take the Rangers, Detroit, and Columbus losing all their games. These games are going to matter down the stretch, even if they don't mean making the playoffs, and at least that is something to maybe not look forward to because you don't want to root for the Islanders to lose. But at least something that makes the last remaining games interesting, because other than that, there really isn't anything else to look forward to with these Islander games, especially being there's so little young talent in Bridgeport and the Islanders, where these last few games, it's not even like any young kids are going to be called up because there's no one there. And that just goes back to the problems that make me think the Islanders need change. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do you think the Islanders need change? And if so, what? Do you think Lou Lamoriello needs to be fired? Maybe it's a coaching issue? Or do you want to see the same management group come back and just really change up the roster? I'd love to know your thoughts below in the comments. As always, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for more Islanders content. We're going to be getting into the draft in the next coming days, especially now that the Islanders are eliminated, as we get a clearer picture of where the Islanders are going to be drafting. I'm Patrick Nilan. This is Islanders Digest. Let's go Islanders.